You guys are at the right place, right? Ninja Turtle question and answer, right? All right. Well, welcome to the Tulsa Comic Expo, and thank you for coming to the TMNT Q&A. We got some amazing people out there waiting to take your questions. So let's give them a big cowabunga. Cowabunga. Okay, now. Faster. One more time. 1, 2, 3. There it is. My name is Jenkins, and I will be your host throughout this thing here. All right. Here we have Nick Palma. He is one of the guys behind Michelangelo, and I'm pretty sure you see him walking around. Next, we have Lee Tilden. He's the man behind Donatello. Next, we have Michelan Sisti. He was one of the costume actors behind Michelangelo. Keep it going! Next, we have Ken Scott. He was behind the hot-headed Raphael. And next, we have Keno, Ernie Reyes Jr. We have the original and my personal favorite April O'Neil, Judith Hoag. She's never behind on the Sony payments. Oh, man, I got that name right here.
Awesome. Hi, guys. You all look familiar. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Super excited to have you guys on here. We're going to take audience questions as well. But first, let's ask, could you guys tell us a little bit of how you got involved with the Ninja Turtle movies? Let's start right over there.
I paid lots of money. I auditioned I was a New York actor. Oh, I can project.
Hi. That's better. I auditioned, as I always did in New York, as a Broadway actor. And they said, "Do you know anything about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?" And I said, "No." Then go anyway. And look what happened. That's all.
For those of you who don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually shot in North Carolina, and that's where I'm from. And while all these great and talented people were there already working in a certain capacity, I actually started not as a turtle, but as one of the foot soldiers. And then I eventually worked my way up into becoming Raphael the Ninja Turtle through various machinations, but that was it. So I was a hometown boy done good.
You broke the other
And you were the one that did the nunchucks with Michelangelo, the competition, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, for me, I was at Black Belt magazine doing articles, not for myself, but for a prominent martial artist at the time, Eric Lee, the little king of katas in the 70s. Anyway, I was his roommate at the time. He was renting a room out of his house in LA. So anyway, I had my resume together. I had it there, and we were talking about if I can get into some movies. Well, they were said that they were looking for this last turtle on this movie, and I go, well, I compiled my stuff, brought it to the stunt coordinator, which was Pat Johnson, the next day. That night, he calls me up for an interview, and then the next day went for a little audition, and then that end of that week, I was on a plane to England getting fitted at the Jim Henson Creature Shop, and that's how I got the job.
Hi, everybody. I was in New York, and my agent said, "I have the script, and don't let the title scare you off." And he didn't even get the title right. He used to call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, to the day he died, he still called it that. And I read the script, and I really loved it. And then I went in, and I met Steve Barron, who is the director. And he was really specific in my audition. He really wanted me to be able to make a very high-pitched squeal for when I saw Splinter. And it's funny because I never wanted to do that squeal. And I remember watching the movie and going, oh, I shouldn't have done it the way he wanted me to do it. But I got the job. And at the time I was doing another movie in New York called Cadillac Man with Robin Williams. And I was leaving to go do pre-production on Ninja Turtles in North Carolina and then shooting a movie in New York. And I kept running out on Fridays really quickly, and people would say, well, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going off to do this other movie. And they'd say, what's the title? And I was a little embarrassed to say that it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because nobody had ever heard of it at that point. And so I said what the title was, and Robin went out of his skin. And he had the very first comic book, and he was an avid collector and an avid fan. And he was so excited. And so he kind of gave me my street cred that it was okay to be doing this, which I knew it was fine. It was just, nobody had heard of it. It just sounded so odd. And then it was kind of history after that.
Hello. Yeah, I similar to Ken. It's actually really awesome to be here with you know, all of these people up here. You know, it's been 30 years or whatever. It's been 20-something. Don't push it here. 25 years, you know, since we've all been together. So it brings back, you know, amazing memories and good times, and you know, it's a great feeling to know that after all these years, there's, you know, so many people that love and adore, you know, what we had an opportunity to do. But Pat Johnson, who was the fight choreographer and stunt coordinator, who I'd known actually from the world of martial arts pretty much since I was about 8 years old, competing in martial arts tournaments around the country. Yeah. My dad and I went to the set of the original Karate Kid, and Pat Johnson was also the choreographer and stunt coordinator for the original Karate Kid. And we were supposed to do a demonstration at the nighttime finals of the climactic scene for the Karate Kid, and it ended up that we weren't able to film, and they ran out of time. And so Pat called me back of quite, you know, 4 or 5 years later. Actually it wasn't 4 or 5 years, it was 10 years. It's all running, kind of blurring together now. 10, 20, 30 years, it's all the same thing. It was about 10 years later, 20 years later, I don't know what it was, but he called me back, and he's working on Ninja Turtles. And originally they had 4 Hong Kong guys, as everyone knows, Golden Harvest, who produced the Bruce Lee movies, Jet Li, Jackie Chan. They were the production company, you know, behind the movie as well. And they had 4 Hong Kong guys, which was the first time that they were working on an American production, Hong Kong stunt guys. And one of the guys hurt his back, and so Pat called me in and asked if I'd work on the show. And you know, it's been a great thing for me to be involved with.
You were like 16.
I was still in high school. So.
And didn't they actually write the part of Keno for you?
Yes, and that was in the second movie. So the first one, I did all the martial arts and for this man's great character, and then they brought me out of the suit to play the pizza delivery guy and hang out alongside with the guys. So, anyways, that's my story. But I'm just happy to be here and happy to see everybody, and it's a great thing. So.
Once upon a time.
Long time ago, I was wandering the streets at dawn in New York City, and I fell into this hole into the sewer. In a box. And I crawled out of the box, and I landed in some green liquid. No, I was living in New York City. I was living in Chinatown, and I've been a comic book fan since I was a kid. It's how my father and I kind of bonded after my mother died, and so he'd give me comic books, and I was just in this underground comic book store in the East Village in New York, and I remember browsing through the early versions of the Ninja Turtles when they were, you know, black and white, and they were vicious, and they were vigilantes, and they weren't so nice. back in the day, and I got this audition for this movie, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was like, yeah, I was kind of excited. This is gonna be cool. I called my dad, and he was like, wow, it's gonna be a dark movie, you know. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be for adults. Yeah, it's gonna be great. and I was like, like I was living in an area, you know, where some guy's playing the saxophone like at 2 a.m. across the street, and I hung out on the rooftop and I made a bow for myself for the audition. So I got to the audition. There's Steve Barron, and who I knew of because he directed all these musical videos in the 80s when MTV was MTV, not what it is today, which is, I have no idea what it is today. And it was like not what I was prepared for, you know. It's like, you know, Donatello, you know, he's full of wisdom and he's sensitive and he's kind of goofy. And I was like, oh, you know, because I thought I was mean and vicious, and I wanted to spread some blood in this audition. So, but anyway.
Got my bow.
But I got my bow, because you can put the bow down now. And I go, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's how I got into the Ninja Turtles. And, you know, suddenly I was in London, and, you know, we had a big fitting, and you didn't go to London?
I didn't go to London.
But you got everything else.
We all went to
All the turtles went to London.
Yeah, but Judith got like a Range
I speak with
Rover.
an accent.
We go to London because that's where the Hinson Creature Shop is, and that's where they make all the turtle suits. So we go there, yeah, and they sculpt our bodies and make the turtles out of that.
I just wanted to go to shop.
But this is actually like this for this convention is a reunion of sorts. I mean, I haven't seen Ernie and Nick and Ken for like 20 years, you know, and so this is Turtles reunited. This is a very special time, and I hope we do it again.
Now, I've heard terrible stories about how it's like to be in those turtle costumes. You want to give them an idea of what it was like to be in those costumes?
Why are you looking at me? Well, let's ask the man who's wearing one right now.
I love being a turtle. That was difficult, but exciting, of course, at the same time.
Now, and Nick hasn't gotten out of the costume since the original.
He's been wearing this since
He really does love being a
1989.
turtle.
I'm sorry if I offend.
I have to set it straight. He's actually not wearing a suit.
To answer some of the questions, though, the turtle suits were extremely challenging to work in. You know, you've got guys like Ernie and the stunt guys, and then you've got the actors. Everybody's doing their stuff, but basically you're doing it while you're wearing a spacesuit or a deep sea diving suit. And for those of you who don't know, the actual Ninja Turtle suits feel like a Nerf football. And Leaf said, and I've used this for 25 years, Leaf, you said it on the news program once, when you work in a turtle suit like that, you're sweating all day long, and that suit is just absorbing it like a sponge. And what you said, Leaf, was, did you ever leave a Nerf football in the rain? And the next day it weighs like 10 pounds. And it's just, that's what the turtle suits would feel like after just 5 or 6 hours of sweating into them and so much.
How did they smell?
They smell like Febreze.
Actually, they did, because they sprayed the heck out of them every night.
After you got out of a turtle suit, every day we wore 2 suits. We wore one for 6 hours, then we break for lunch, and then we put on another suit. Every turtle had like 2 total suits, because by the time you finished with it after 6 hours, I mean, you take off the glove and you could just pour the sweat out like liquid. So a lot of guys suffered sickness and nosebleeds, and I think somebody passed out at one point. And the other thing too was you couldn't breathe. The carbon dioxide would get caught right in the chamber that was the mouth. So just after a few minutes, you're breathing your own carbon dioxide, and you just kind of want to go to sleep. So it was very challenging.
I got to like it.
I spent a lot of time high. So I had an incredible time.
He means high on life. High on
Oh,
life.
that's right, high on life, children. High on life.
Well, Judith, how was it when you got to set the first day and you actually saw them in all the turtle suits?
Well, oh gosh, when we had a couple weeks of pre-production, and I really came into the movie blind. Like I didn't I didn't read the comic books. I didn't do my research. I just kind of showed up. They're like, don't you feel a responsibility to play April? I was like, no. And then when I got there, the world opened up a little bit because once you start hanging with the folks from the Creature Shop in Henson's world, you know that you're in this really rarefied world. We had these puppeteers from the Creature Shop in London. We had all the puppeteers from Sesame Street, which, you know, I don't even have to say what that was like. Then we had these guys. I mean, it was just, well, we had 2 of these guys, 3 of these guys. And suddenly you started seeing, they walked me through the Creature Shop and I got to see the heads and, you know, hands hanging and feet and shells and body parts. And it started to, it was like, oh my God, this is really, really cool. And then when you started to see, it was an interesting thing because it took 2 people to make the turtles go. It was the person in the suit and then there was a puppeteer who was in charge. They were symbiotic, really, with their puppeteers because they had to move all the servos in their head. So you'd hear 2 people talking. It was like you guys would talk and then they would mouth the words.
Yeah.
And so it was a really surreal experience for me when I first saw the movie because it wasn't their voices.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
we didn't either.
I know.
I'm still hearing voices.
I know, because of all that
All the high.
enjoyment in the suits. But there were times watching them I really felt for them because it was very hot, it was very humid, they were really constrictive. There would be times where you just see them up and then they're down. I remember somebody had to pull their head off. And it was like a ripped, torn, expensive head gone. And then there were times where you couldn't, they needed a break, so I would act to a paper plate on a Sisti.
But it looked like a turtle.
No, they didn't even try. They just put a happy face. It was like,
Happy face.
yeah, I was like, okay, no, let's do nothing instead of the paper plate with the happy face. I'll just use my imagination.
There was a long time ago, there was a movie called Swamp Thing. I don't know if how many of you were familiar with that. Adrienne Barbeau and all that.
Who's lovely.
Well, one time we were working on the set of Ninja Turtles and our PR person was walking a visitor around the set. And apparently she had known something about the Swamp Thing or whatever because she saw us all exhausted and hanging out and maybe somebody complained and I overheard this woman say to the PR person, they think they got it bad? The Swamp Thing, he had it bad.
Now, did the suits get any better throughout, like, because a few of you worked on multiple movies. Did they get any better throughout the movies?
As a veteran.
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, what happened in the first show was that they were experimenting. They were putting together 3 or 4 elements that had never been put together in that way. So, for example, the animatronic heads had mechanisms, but not motors in the head. The motors were in the shell, on our backs. And there were 30 bicycle brake cables running up the back of our heads, into the heads, to control the mechanism. Between the first and second show, they figured out, there's one big disadvantage to begin with. You can't take the head off and put it down. You always had to have the head in your hand, or your dresser had to hold it for you while you had the head off. So between the first and second shows, they figured out, let's put all the motors in the head, which was great in that regard. Then they had a big cable going down, electronic cable, to connect to the computer and the battery that were still in the shell. The only problem is for us, in the first show, inside the head it was horrible and stuffy and miserable, but the noise wasn't horrible. You had your puppeteer in one ear and the common feed so you could hear the director and everything else on the set in the other. And then there was second show. It never stopped. Never. Because even when they weren't operating, the motors were in tension. So it was always. So I likened it to wearing a tin can full of bees in the middle of Grand Central Station.
Wow. That's a party in your head.
Yeah. You get voices, so I didn't hear it.
They loved it.
I loved it. It was a symphony.
Now, do any of you have like a favorite scene that you liked, that you enjoyed filming, or on the other hand, one that you just hated filming?
Well, my favorite scene in the first movie and I had a favorite scene in the second movie. The first movie is when Michelangelo and Donatello are sitting in the sewer and waiting for the pizza, and I just love that scene because of the subtle movements and the care that we took in, and it's the first thing we ever did because it's very subtle and taking breaths in between lines and words and just trying to sync up with your puppeteer and the actor and the other suit and just making this very delicate scene. And if you guys remember that scene, it's really cool because you really believe that they're alive. The magic realism in that scene is great because it's all in the subtlety of and it's just them from their waist up and their heads, and I think it's cool. And there's like a connection between brothers. It's a great little scene. And then the scene in the second movie is the opening sequence in the mall was like we all had sort of, all the turtles had like a hand in sort of creating these little bits and gags. And Donatello, as you remember, decides to do this gag where he pretends he's one of these punching bags. And I remember I saw a production of Cirque du Soleil, and there's this guy, there's a clown conductor, and I totally stole how they did, because I went backstage. I knew somebody in the show, and it took a mini tramp, and you take the elastic cloth out of the mini tramp, and they put this iron plate, and then they bolted these ski boots in there. So we did the same thing for Donatello, so that I could rock back and forth, and so everybody had their little gags and bits, and it was the second movie we kind of moved on from the torture of what it was like, and to sort of like a very creative, free form kind of telling of the story. So we had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, Judith. Yeah, I saw it in New York. It was good. Do you still have that Range Rover? I'm just kidding. How are you? Where do you live now, by the way?
Yeah, tell everybody, please.
Hi, Judith. Yeah, you're amazing. Isn't her hair incredible? Thank you very much.
What's your favorite?
And what's your favorite scene?
Yeah.
Ernie, Reyes Jr. Let's see. It was probably in the second film. Surprise. Was when we were in April's apartment, and I was sitting there, and Splinter was telling me the backstory of who all the characters were. And the characters, everybody was introducing themselves: Donatello, Michelangelo, Leonardo, and of course Mikey says,
All the good ones in the know.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're stealing my line.
Yeah. That was a great, that was, for me personally, having worked on the first film and being in the suits and experiencing all of that and working really hard, the first film, and then to be out of it and then to be in that scene was just a really amazing and surreal experience for me, because I was like, wow, I'm outside of the suit now, and now Splinter's telling me the backstory that I already knew because I was actually in the first movie. That was a pretty cool scene for me. Good choice.
I have a story about Ernie. So I was in the Turtle Head and just kind of hanging out, tormented in my sweat and heat. And I'm sitting there, and they're rehearsing, and Ernie's rehearsing this as Keno. He's like rehearsing this bit, and I remember Ernie's talent doing, martial arts as Donatello in the first movie. But of course, with those suits, he doesn't have the freedom that he has without the suit. He's not wearing all that weight. And so I knew he was talented and he was amazing, but I remember sitting there and I'm like watching this rehearsal, and and in the suit we can only see through these little slits right under our eye. We can barely see. We see little, So I'm kind of trying to looking around, And I remember like seeing Ernie in his wardrobe and he's rehearsing, and it was like watching Superman.
Yeah.
I swear to God, his talent. He was doing some sort of double flip leg kick punch. and I literally was like in the suit, and no, I was sober, and I was like, Jesus, like I literally was like, oh my God, like I saw seeing like a superhuman flying around in space. Anyway, that's a compliment, by the way.
I think my favorite was because I had worked with all the guys, so that, you know, they'd already worn off now. It's always fun to work with them. But I had never worked with Splinter before. And Splinter took a couple of puppeteers to make him go. And it was the scene in the sewer where I wake up and I see the turtles and Splinter for the first time. And I think what sort of added adrenaline to the day was that was the first time I met Jim Henson. And I'm doing this scene, and then I look off to the side, and there's Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's like, stay in the scene and do your work, and you can meet the nice man when you're done. And it was really distracting, but really exciting. And so I think that was my favorite scene.
Okay, well, I came in on the second movie, so I didn't have anything to do with the first, but and I was actually the action turtle for Mikey and for Mish, so I was, you know, fight turtle. Probably the best scene was was also the mall scene, but I also liked the one that Ernie was talking about, where where Mikey did the back handspring, which was my first time working on the movie there. So they got me on there. And I'd been practicing the back handspring, and I could do it, without the suit. That's no problem. Unfortunately, I had this behind me, and to do a back handspring, it's a blind move anyway. But now here's the thing. So I've been rehearsing it, and now they asked me to do it, and they asked me to do it in between this wall and this wall. So now it's like doing it.
Now you go out there and do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Right in that.
Get on the table.
Yeah, right in between that aisle right there is what I had to work with, and so that was extremely hard. But once I did it, thank God it was filmed. Let's do it one more time. Oh,
plus he's an alcoholic.
That's only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This was Wednesday. No, but anyway, so I did. I was happy that was over with. That was the icebreaker for me for that movie, because that was my first time working on a movie. What was my worst experience on there? Well, I'm going to tell you. And his name was Donatello. No, it was actually, all right, in the junkyard scene where we, myself, Stephen Ho, and Larry Lamb, we were the action turtles. All right, now those guys were prominent martial artists coming off the circuit. I wasn't, but I was there with you guys. But here's the thing: we were in the junkyard scene. All of a sudden, there's a cargo net that we got trapped. There's a trap that they set for us. The cargo net goes up. Now that's attached to a cable going up to the rafters of the sound stage across, and it's supposed to take us up 20 feet, just like that. Well, we go off 10 feet off the ground, the cable snapped, and it dropped us right back down on the floor. So you can see that kind of messed up our whole night. And actually though, two of the guys, they were hurt to the point where they were out of the shoot. I severed my MCL on that fall, ultimately, although I didn't know it at the time. We had 2 weeks left. I finished the film barely. But, and then a month later, I ended up getting an operation on my MCL. Yeah, it was severed, so they had to get an operation.
Turtles took you on.
But not out, and that's what I wanted to say, not out.
Nick, tell us about the Buddhist temple that you live in now.
1561 North Hollywood Street.
For me, my favorite scene is pretty much all of them. It's kind of a cop-out answer, but becoming a Ninja Turtle was a dream come true. Since I was a kid, I knew what I wanted to do, and it was be in the movies. So every single day, no matter what we were doing and how tough it was, every day doing any scene for me in Ninja Turtles was awesome. The scene I hated the most was being in the nightclub and dancing with Vanilla Ice.
Do you still remember the dance?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Hi. As a veteran, one of my favorite scenes is the one that Lee described earlier, the first scene that we shot in the first movie. In the first movie as well, there was a scene around the campfire that was an emotional experience as well as a transformative experience for me, and I absolutely have never left it.
All right, well, I guess we'll take some questions from you guys. Anybody got questions? Well, come up here and I'll help you out here.
Yes, it was hot in that suit.
What's your name?
Marvin.
Hi, Marvin.
Hey guys, I love Ninja Turtles. Love the second one. Now the scene where Mr. Keno comes in, he brings the pizza, and we hear he goes, yeah. How long did it take you guys? There was a lot of fighting in that scene. Did it take you guys a long time to film that whole thing?
Every scene took a long time because it had to be rehearsed. It had to be choreographed and rehearsed, especially when we were going to be in the suits. When people were doing things around us, they had to know exactly where we would be, and we had to know where they would be because we couldn't see them when we actually shot. So everything took a long time. Now that particular scene was fun because we were doing all sorts of things with the pizza and throwing it around the room. So that was an added attraction for us, which was fun, but it still took a long time.
So a week and a half.
Here's my twin, stole my jacket. Okay. What's your name?
My name's
We will be taking those jackets from you later, by the way, because we don't have those jackets.
What's your hotel number? What's the deal? Okay, so I've been trying to be a ninja all my life. Been trying to be Raphael all my life, but so did you guys really? Are you really able to get those bells off without making a noise?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Just like making sure it's possible.
There was no movie magic or editing there at all. It was actually done.
What's your name?
Mariah. Which one of you is the diva of the group?
Well.
I just have a lot to say. I have a lot of opinions about things.
Anybody else? I have a bunch of questions. I'll keep asking. What do you got?
If you look at the range of ages in the room, you got little ones, you got not older, but more mature people too. Some things phase in and out. Why has this now been generational instead of something that just went away?
Well, I mean, a lot of it has to do with, the new cartoon and the new comic book at IDW, and, about, I think it was now 5 years ago, Viacom, acquired all the rights to the Ninja Turtles from Peter Laird, and so, once they acquired the rights, this is when they started producing the comic book at IDW and the cartoon at Nickelodeon. And that is one of the coolest things about being part of it, for me, being part of the Ninja Turtles, is that, you have parents who, I go around the country and I teach martial arts as well, and predominantly to kids. And I'll go into a martial arts school and they'll introduce me, and the kids will be looking at me like, who the hell are you? And all the parents are like, that's Keno! But it's very cool because, you have parents who grew up on the Ninja Turtles and now they have their kids, and they're showing their kids the old school movies, which is super cool. And then the kids also have, the cartoon on Nickelodeon and the comic book at IDW. So it's very cool to see something that wasn't, at the time that we did it, wasn't kind of multi-generational, but now it's become that. I have people that have been grandparents, grandparents who grew up watching the Ninja Turtles, and now their grandkids are big fans of the cartoon. So,
if I may add to that, Ernie, it's also because these are universal themes. How to fit in when you don't feel like you fit in, brotherhood and family. I mean, those are universal. They last forever.
there's also something when it's something that you love when you're a kid, you know, there's just something so reassuring about that when you take it through your life. I've had more people come up to me who say, you know, when I'm having a really bad day, I like to just crack something cold, turn on the movie, and go back in time, and that they feel a lot better. And so, you know, I think that because they were such sweet movies and fun, it translated. But it really is fun to meet the, you know, 3 generations. That's happened to me. I had an entire family show up as Ninja Turtles with Bebop and Rocksteady, and it was like grandma, grandpa, their kids, their grandchildren. It was crazy. They were really good. They had contact lenses. I mean, they were nuts. So.
And when Judith says go back in time, she does not mean watch the 3rd movie.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. I love that movie.
What's your name?
So, what are your opinions on the new Michael Bay version of the Ninja Turtles?
Really? I gotta go. Right on. Look, you know, I think that it's like a franchise that keeps living and growing and expanding. When the movie first was announced, I was asked to, you know, comment on it, and I think people wanted me to be really upset about it, and oh, damn them for making a giant CGI multi-million-dollar movie keeping the franchise alive, and damn that Michael Bay, who I shot 3 movies with, oh, I hate him, and ooh, they replaced you with Megan Fox. Like, that's not a compliment. And so I was like, I have nothing bad to say about this. And, you know, it's just another version. It's like when they redid Star Wars, and now they're redoing it again. So I think it just speaks to the longevity. So I say awesome, and you should go see the new one when it comes out.
Could you tell us anything about what you're doing in the second one?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, of course you don't.
That's right.
I have no idea. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Confirm nor deny. She's going to be in the second one, y'all. She's going to be in the second one.
I've seen it. I've seen it already. It's amazing. I think Mad Max is amazing. Have you guys seen Mad Max? It's much better than the last Turtle movie. That's all I gotta say.
I watched a panel of you guys, I don't know, probably a little while ago. Have you guys seen the movie yet? Because a lot of you hadn't seen it when you did the panel. And so, you have seen the new movie
yeah.
since? Okay, yeah, all right.
I saw it 10 times.
Nice. What's your name?
Caleb. Hey, I was just wondering if y'all guys got to keep any special props from the movie or anything.
I got to keep Nick.
And the suit as well. I got to keep nunchucks. I had my practice chucks and my shooting chucks. By the way, nunchucks. When they started training us in New York before we went down to North Carolina, they gave me a set of nunchucks to use to practice that were wood. I beat the heck out of myself for 3 months. I had bruises everywhere, and somebody comes up and says, "Oh, here's your rubber chucks to practice with." Thank you so much. We each got a little bit of a body part at the end of the show, but it's foam latex. After 2 or 3 years, there was nothing but crumbly dust in the bottom of my closet. But I got the chucks.
I walked away from the first Ninja Turtle movie with a hood from the Foot Clan, and then also eventually the size for Raphael, and 1 turtle hand. And just like Miche, the turtle hand eventually just disintegrated to dust, and so did actually the foot mask too. Yeah, yeah. You can tell what Nick kept.
He kept the spirit, is what he did.
This is not the original, but it looks like it, huh? I think it's a great copy. I just invested in it last year, and I can make a little commercial. No, I'm job. But yeah, no, the guy who made this, he did a good job. He does have a website, but I was able to keep the sausages as well, and the wooden ones. Well, someone gave them some. What do you think I've been living on all these years? Combat cold cuts, and I had a couple of hands as well. But yeah, through the years they also disintegrated. They gave me a couple to practice with initially. I do have one left though, and it's still in good shape, and I do have it mounted. Yeah.
Somebody walked away with a head. Somebody got a head. I forget who.
Yeah, I stole Falcor's head from the Jim Henson Creature Shop. No, I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I wanted to.
There's a Falcor head at the bar downtown Tulsa. It's an 80s like arcade bar called the Max. You should get it.
I'm going.
Turtle mission tonight.
After I go to the cave house.
Tonight. Come on.
Yeah, come play the turtles with us.
I'm going.
Got a little question.
How long do you fight?
Oh yeah, how long do you fight?
Until somebody wins.
Hours and hours.
Is that with my bill collectors or is that no? My ex one.
But hopefully you don't have to fight. You know,
Well-
hopefully, you know, you can resolve your differences with your words and love.
One of the things
I love you, by the way.
One of the things the Turtles try to do is they try not to fight. And if they have to, that's when they use the skills that Splinter taught them.
Yeah.
But in order to get ready for the movie, so that we could fight in the movie, we actually practiced for about a month or a month and a half, getting all our fight moves together, right?
Yeah. We kissed.
I missed that scene. And I'm glad I
It's
did.
good. It's good. Love, be here now.
Right on.
Have any of you ever made a weird kind of pizza?
I naturally eat anchovy pizza, so a lot of people think that's weird, so I'll mark myself down for that.
I made a gummy bear pizza.
That's weird.
Way too sweet. Way too sweet.
You made a mushroom pizza, I think.
I make a really good mushroom pizza.
That's not oregano either.
What you think?
Okay, I've got two questions. First of all, other than the obvious mad respect Luke has for Judith, were there
Mad respect.
I love you. Were there any relationships that were formed? I mean,
Yes, there were very good friendships.
That was the second movie, by the way. Not the first.
Yes, there were no relationships in the first movie.
The second April, you know, she was a little easygoing. You know what I
okay, the other question is, obviously you guys each move forward with your careers. How do you think that the role that you played in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shaped who you are as a person and what you did in your future?
Wow. Now I'm depressed. Go ahead.
Why do I have to go first on this? Okay, well, there's a therapist in New York I highly recommend. We talked for years after that. Jeez, this is so heavy. I just snorted. One of the collateral damages of being a Ninja Turtle. No, it did. I mean, I was in all seriousness, I can't be serious. I was completely affected by it. I mean, meeting Ernie Reyes Jr. and Jim Henson. No, it was amazing. I mean, you gotta understand, like, I was a huge comic book fan. I was a huge Muppet fan. The Muppet Show was, and the Banana Splits, and I was a crazy kid. Anyway, so when I walked into the Jim Henson Creature Shop in London the first time, I was in awe. You know, I mean, these people are mad geniuses, you know, that created the Muppets, the Henson people, and Jim Henson himself, Frank Oz. Jim Henson, meeting and working with Jim Henson blew me away. I mean, he demands collaboration. So, if you know, affecting me as an artist and as a person, as a man, that is a priority in anything that you do in your family, with your friends, any creative endeavor. that it's about listening and wanting collaboration, demanding collaboration, wanting input, you know, because Jim Henson even said this, that it's an interdependent universe. You know, it's an, you know, I talked about independent films with Jim Henson, and you know, he said he didn't even know what the word independent meant. He thought of it as interdependent, that it takes everyone together to make something. And the Ninja Turtles, making these Ninja Turtle movies, and I've made movies since then. I directed a couple of movies. It took every. We talk about how we sweat in the suits. Everybody was sweating in that movie. Everybody rolled their sleeves up. It took every ounce of energy from everyone. It was such a collaborative effort to make those movies, and it was done passionately. And where the spine of the passion came from was Jim Henson and his group of people that created these suits and these characters. I swear to God, it was intense, and it's never been the same. I've never worked on a movie since where it's just a gig most of the time. You get on these movies and these TV shows, it's just everyone's doing a job and they're doing the best they can. But on these movies, everyone cared about it. It was so passionate to the point where even when we wrapped, we were hanging out together. I mean, Jim Henson this is one thing about Jim Henson. He was obsessed with bowling. He loved to bowl. We would wrap and he'd go, "We're going to the bowling alley." Well, what? We're exhausted. No, we're going bowling. And we'd go, and we'd all leave because we had to work the next day, and it'd be 4 a.m. and he was still bowling. He'd go, "Hey man, where you guys going? You know, come on. So that affected me to this day. Anyway, I'm gonna stop.
To the point of the question, for me, basically what happened was, like Leaf and everybody else here, I've gone on and done other things, but no other project that I was attached to has had such a global and significant impact on people's lives. And so even though I've done other things, the rest of the world sees this as almost the most defining thing I've ever done in my life. So for 25 years, when I meet people, what ends up happening is they find out I was Raphael, and that's what it becomes all about. So really a lot of your life is kind of steered by what you did at one point, and then everybody kind of defines you like that. So it opened a lot of doors because everybody's always interested in talking to a Ninja Turtle or dating a Ninja Turtle on eHarmony. But for the most part, it's how people define you. It's not necessarily how we define ourselves, but it's how people define us and why we're able to sit on this panel and enjoy it and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a very significant impact in at least my life and probably everybody else's as well.
I'm just going to expand a little bit on what Leaf was saying. For he and I in particular, we went from turtles to dinosaurs. We did the TV show Dinosaurs with the Henson Company and Disney at that time as well. And then things got a little dissipated because of the energies going off into the ether. After that, I was extremely fortunate in that I was asked to continue on doing the puppeteering. So for the last 25 years, I've been working with the Muppets and Jim Henson and Disney and all those folks doing that kind of stuff. So for me, it's been my third career, but it's been the longest of my 3 careers.
Yeah, for me, you know, playing the pizza delivery guy has given me an opportunity to get into the pizza delivery business. and I'm really happy about that. So.
Hey, I have a question for you. Why in the second movie, whenever you deliver pizzas, you always hold them like vertically? Like,
because there's no pizza in it.
I do not kid myself that the first thing that will be on my obituary is April O'Neil, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have to say, you know, I did the first movie and I didn't do any after that until maybe recently. I can neither confirm nor deny. But I have to say, one of the things that's been really interesting about this process of being attached to this movie is that it's getting bigger. It's like there's more Ninja Turtle madness as the years pass. It just keeps sort of building. The swells keep coming, and I think it's very rare that you get, if you're an actor, to get a movie or something that has made such a cultural dent is something very, very special. And I think that we all are deeply appreciative and grateful that, panels, people who show up, they are so impacted by it. And it's a really cool thing. It feels like an honor.
What's your name?
His. So there's been endless stream of merchandise since the 80s. Have you guys ever gotten in on getting any of the toys or collected anything?
Getting paid. It's two different things.
They're very losing money on them.
Getting them, we buy them. Yeah, buy them. We buy them.
I was given a box full. I have a turtle box at home filled with toys.
I'm pissed. You know, turtle box.
I call it a turtle box, but it's filled with, they sort of gave an array of stuff when the movie opened.
They did, huh?
Well, it's who you're sleeping with.
Leaf, I never should have listened to you.
Kidding.
All right, we'll take one more question.
Ernie, were you really scared when you walked in the mall and you just saw the Ninja Turtles fighting in the middle of a fight?
Yes, I fainted.
So that means they had to just cut and restart?
Yes.
In a word, yes.
Excellent question.
All right. Before everybody leaves, let's give an announcement real quick.
Hey guys, we have something special for you. Misha, as he just mentioned, works with the Jim Henson Studios still to this day. And he has brought from his personal archives back in Los Angeles an actual cast member hat from the Jim Henson Studios. And what we're not going to give it to you, but we're going to give it to some lucky person. This is what we're going to do. When the Q&A is all over, anyone who purchased an autograph from Misha, if you want to come to the back table, we're going to have you guys all put your names on a scrap of paper. If you guys still want a chance to win, come over and see Misha and get an autograph, and then you get your free raffle ticket for that hat. And whoever wins it gets an autographed, and he's also going to throw in the balloon animal as well. So that's a little cool, rare collectible for anyone who's interested. So
This is really competitive.
No. You guys are not allowed to join. Family, friends.
I already have one. I got a signature.
So there you go.
And he has a hat too.
Cool. So, and then I should encourage, if anyone can purchase autographs from other people as well, but come see Misha first.
Let's just say thank you guys so much for doing this. 25 years ago, the kids put up one of the greatest movies. Thank you guys so much for being part of our childhood. Thank you for all of you coming out tonight. Good up to Lee, Ernie, Judith, Hoag, Nick Palma, King Scott, Michelan, Sisti.